Well, hello, Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Manitoba, and today what's on my mind is the season, right? We're getting closer and closer to the holidays, whatever you celebrate. But no matter what you celebrate, you might be a little bit frustrated by what's happening with postal service in this country. So let's start there as we dig into more and try to understand the news. It's been weeks. It's been more than 3 weeks already since Canada Post Workers went out on strike. That means that gifts, packages, and letters have all been stuck in a warehouse somewhere since late November. And we're getting closer and closer to holidays and Christmas Day, and a lot of businesses and people are feeling the impact of this. Reggie Taman is a health and safety officer with the Canadian Union of Postal Workers Winnipeg local, and in case you're wondering, that's about 1,600 members. And on the podcast today, he's going to tell us a little bit more about the impact on the picket line. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy.
So you've been out on the picket lines. What has the mood been like from the workers, and what have you been hearing from people?
Well, we have several picket lines throughout Winnipeg and in the rural areas, and it's a roller coaster of emotions. We have experienced members out there who've been through these types of actions before, they know what to expect and to keep on the fight. And we also have new workers who haven't experienced this at all, who are worried and scared. And we're heading into week 5 of the strike action, and that's 5 weeks without pay, 5 weeks without benefits, and it's hitting some members.
How would you say negotiations are going right now?
It's really tough because from our perspective, it's both parties hold their cards pretty close to their chest, and a lot of us, and even myself as an executive, we're just glued to the phone or glued to the internet trying to find out any update, and just waiting for something to come out. So people are anxious to wait for that next movement. But like I said, both parties, they do hold their cards close, and it can be frustrating. So.
Canada Post says they've, quote, received the latest offers from the Canadian Union of Postal Workers and is extremely disappointed that their intent appears to widen the gap in negotiations rather than close it, end quote. What's your sense of that statement?
Well, it's that kind of sets me aback because, for one, I know Canadian Union of Postal Workers has lowered their wage demand. They've taken some demands off the table, which would, in Canada Post's words, would cost hundreds of millions of dollars. So I don't understand why they say we're widening the gap when we're actually trying to move closer to getting a fair deal.
Obviously, the federal government has said, they loathe to get involved. They've been involved in the past, but they've also really said, and the analysis has come across the country, that part of why people are talking about this being something that could be for the long haul is that beyond what you're talking about today, which is the issues around pay that the workers are striking for and other workplace issues, that this is the moment for the service where at some point the decision will have to be made. How does Canada Post go into the future in 2025? How does it sustain itself in an era where postal service and the needs for that in this country have changed so much? Is there a point of view from workers on that? Is this seen by workers as, is that bigger issue something that is on the table for people, that sensibility that we're in this critical moment?
Well, there's no doubt that postal services have changed, and we got to continue to change. And I think some of the initiatives that CUPW has tried to push forward in the past and still today is to expand our services. We got to create that value for the public because this is a public service. So I mean, you've heard it before. We've tried to raise postal banking as means of to ease the revenue. This postal banking is very successful in other countries, and it can be really successful here. The Canada, we serve every address in this country. So and our infrastructure is so huge. We need to take that all into account and expand those services because we're in every community, and people might not feel it in the urban sprawl because the convenience of everything. But we got to think of the communities that are outside the rural areas, the isolated communities that rely on our services. So we're still relevant. We're still very valuable to the public, and we need to continue to expand those services and create more value for Canada Post.
What did you enjoy most about the job while you were walking? I was going to say walking the beat, but I mean really out there delivering.
Well, I think I could speak for every postal worker. I think we love our job. We love being in the community. I loved being in my St. James area. That's where I delivered for probably 12 years. And I got to know my customers really well, and I became a familiar face in the community, and you feel appreciated and valued. And yeah, you become an advocate for everyone because you're on the street all the time. So it's people enjoy their job and love serving their communities.
What do you hope the public, understands right now about as this goes on? Because obviously people are very directly affected. So there's a lot of people that have, thoughts and opinions as they're watching this and trying to understand it.
From my experience on the picket line, I've had some great interactions with public, and a lot of public do support our struggle. I got to kind of rewind your question a little bit there. I'm sorry, I kind of lost.
I'm just wondering what you hope the public keeps in mind right now, because as you said, everyone's affected. So as this sort of goes on longer and longer, people are going to have a lot of emotions and a lot of opinions about the fact that you guys are still out.
As we go through this, I really empathize with the public, and I empathize with the small businesses that are affected. This is honestly, this is the first experience for me of being in a national all-out strike. I've been through lockouts and rotating strikes, so I didn't really know how long this was going to go. So it is going rather long, and then it was anticipated that it could be a long haul. But we have 55,000 plus members out on the line, and like I said earlier, we're going into week 5, and these members are without pay, they're without benefits. And my heart's with the community and the public, but it's also with the members. Being in my portfolio as health and safety officer, I do oversee a lot of health issues, stuff like that, and mental health is pretty critical at this stage. We're kind of coming over we're still probably climbing a mountain. We don't know when it's going to crest, and we're going to kind of see some true meaningful bargaining at the table from Canada Post. So yet to see that.
Just as a last question, I don't know if you have this number handy, and if you don't, that's okay, but I don't want to put you on the spot, but how many members do we have in Manitoba? There's 55,000 across the country, right?
We have around, for just in our local, so we're just primarily in southern Manitoba, and local 856, we look roughly between 1,500 and 1,600 members.
Yeah. Thank you very much for speaking, I guess, on behalf of them. I know you've been to various picket lines. Appreciate having you in live studio this morning.
Oh, thank you very much.
So that's Reggie Taman. He's a health and safety officer, as you heard, with the Canadian Union of Postal Workers, Winnipeg local. Now, we did try to get an interview for the podcast with Canada Post. They emailed us a statement instead, so I'm just going to read it out here. And I have 2 quotes to read from the statement. The first is this. It says, "Our approach throughout negotiations has been fair, balanced, and straightforward, bringing much needed flexibility to our delivery model to improve service for Canadians and grow our parcel business while protecting and valuing the people who provide that service," end quote. And the second quote is from a later part of the statement. It says, "In the last few weeks, Canada Post has made several important moves to close the gap and reach negotiated agreements, but the union has reverted to their previous positions or increased their demands," end quote. So all of that to say is it does look like there is no end in sight soon for what is happening with this strike. It is time to turn our attention to my friends, my buddies, who we haven't had on the podcast. All 3 of us haven't been on in a little while. Abby Adeyemi, Corey Funk, hello.
Hello.
Hello. My partners in Morning Show Crime. Abby, you look like you could be out delivering the mail with that hat today.
I've always signed up to be Santa's helper. So, picking up those letters from the little ones and delivering to the North Pole is not going to be a bad idea.
You look cool, though.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. Abby's got new glasses, and he's got this furry hat on with the ear flaps. It's a cool look, man.
I'm ready for the assignment.
I like it. You also kind of look a little bit wildernessy,
Yeah, I've been trying to, getting close to nature, and
you're always out.
The green therapy is the thing for me all the time.
Well, now I guess it's snow therapy. There's no green.
I still try to find some green in there. Like maybe revisit old pictures that I took in the summer will take me back to this is what it used to look like in summer.
Yeah.
It's now covered.
Yeah, good luck in December, buddy, in Manitoba right now. It's all covered in white. Listen, I'm talking about wildlife because I have never seen a cougar. And the next story we have coming up on the podcast is about cougars. So you, Abby, have you?
I saw one at the zoo. Does that count?
Okay, no, I've seen a cougar at the zoo.
Oh, okay.
But in wild,
one of them, I was like,
I don't know. I think for the sake of this conversation, you and I are out. It doesn't count.
Okay.
Corey, though, I think has.
Yeah. My mom and I was a kid. We were driving down Highway 59, heading towards Grand Beach.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I see this like big, limber, furry creature jump from the ditch onto the road, and then from the road jump back into the ditch across the road.
Like how fast? In
It
front
was
of
just
you?
like
And like
boom,
really?
boom, like that. Like just like, whoa. And I said, Mom, look, a baboon. And then she was like, Corey, that's no baboon. That was a cougar. I was like, what? Yeah, my mom actually used to work for the province taking like wildlife calls. And she was like, yeah, that thing that I've got a call like that. That was a cougar that we
I
just saw.
didn't know your mom did that. That's cool.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
Okay, so here's another question then, because as we're about to hear, like it can be really elusive, you know, these animals,
Yeah.
cougars, especially in Manitoba. A lot of people don't even know we have them. How many bears have you seen?
Oh, countless.
Right?
Like,
Yeah,
it's just like
okay.
endless bears.
Yeah.
Bears everywhere.
So there's this cool exhibit, and it's also not every day that there's a new permanent exhibit at the Manitoba Museum, but there is one right now, and it is called the Cougar, Manitoba's big cat. It tells the story, though, of cougars in Manitoba through one specific story, which I think is super cool. It's a cougar known as SK10, and that was the label on his ear tag. And we're going to learn more about it from the Curator of Zoology, who is Randall Mooi. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. I'm glad we finally managed to connect.
Yeah, I'm glad we connected as
I got
well.
my coffee. Have my coffee here. I'm ready to go.
Okay, good. Me too. We're connecting this morning, as I said to listeners before we played the tune there, over this new exhibit, the Cougar, Manitoba's big cat. And it's not just about cougars. It's about a specific cat that has a tag on the ear, had a tag on the ear, SK10. Quite a story. So let's start at the beginning of that story. What sparked the journey to track this cat and even have him, tagged in the first place?
Yeah, the museum received this animal in 2020, but it was part of a study at the University of Alberta, and they did tag this animal as a cub. It was about little over a year old, and they put a satellite collar on the animal. And they managed to track this for quite a long time. And in just 3 months, it traveled about 750 kilometers. It was born in the Cypress Hills of Saskatchewan, wandered down into Montana, then I guess didn't like the political situation there, and came back up into Canada, ended up in the Moose Mountains in Saskatchewan, and then the satellite tracking device failed. But it was miraculously found again on some trail cameras in Riding Mountain National Park just a few years later. So from 2016 to 2018, it was tracked through the park on several trail cams, and we have those images in the exhibit so people can actually see the animal traveling as it was captured on those trail cams. And then a couple of years later, unfortunately, it was snared in a legal coyote trap or a coyote snare. And that's when we got the call from Manitoba Wildlife, received the animal, worked with the zoo to process it. So we have the skin of the animal mounted right beside its own skeleton. And so people can get an up-close look at this amazing animal that traveled well over 1,000 kilometers from where it was born to end up being in Manitoba.
What a comprehensive, interesting exhibit. I know that people are, if you're watching our show on YouTube this morning, you're seeing some of what's being described by Randall. I love that you have the video shots, too, of the animal moving. Tell me a little bit about why this is special. Because, cougars are, as I mentioned, they're elusive. They can be sly in the woods. But how unusual is it for a cougar to travel a distance like that?
It is quite unusual. This animal traveled the furthest of any that was studied in that particular research, most of them, male cougars and females too, do need to leave the home range of their mothers, because obviously the environment isn't going to be able to support all those animals. So they do have to leave and look for a new range for themselves. But it is a little bit unusual for them to move quite that far. Most of our cougars, though, do come from Saskatchewan and probably South Dakota. Our animals do travel quite a long ways to get here.
Is it strange for them to be found in Riding Mountain National Park?
No, it's most of the records that we have are from the western part of the province, usually around forested areas, places like Turtle Mountain, Riding Mountain National Park, Duck Mountain. And it's about this time of year that we do sometimes get specimens, unfortunately, through legal trapping. And then those animals do go to museums. There probably have been cougars in Manitoba for thousands of years, but we actually didn't have any physical evidence of them occurring here until 1973, just northwest or northeast of Winnipeg, near Stead. There was a cougar that was shot because it was attacking some people's dogs.
What do you hope people take away from the exhibit? Obviously, there's so much that you've learned from tracking this animal, and you have so much for people to look and understand. But what do you hope people take from it?
Well, I'd like people to figure out, to actually even know that cougars occur in Manitoba, because I think a lot of people are quite surprised to find out that they do occur here, and to understand the difficulties that some of these animals have in living in the environment that we've created. The prairies and much of Manitoba has been quite transformed by human activities. And the idea that an animal has to travel potentially, 1,000 kilometers from where it was born to try to find a place to live is something that we should ponder and consider in our interaction with the environment.
Really appreciate you being with us. How long's the Cougar Manitoba's Big Cat exhibit going to be on at the museum?
Well, this is a permanent exhibit, so people can come down. We'd like them to come down even during winter break this year. Check out the exhibit. There's a lot of interactives. People can hear cougar sounds. They can learn a little bit more about the cougar, and they get a nice up-close look at the skeleton itself.
And it's warm.
Yeah, really, really looking forward to having people see it.
And it's warm.
And it's warm inside. That's right.
Selling feature this morning. Thank you so much, Randall. Appreciate you telling us all about it.
All right. Well, thanks for your interest.
Take care.
Hope everyone can come down.
So a new exhibit at the Manitoba Museum, which is really cool. It's called the Cougar, Manitoba's Big Cat. If you want to go check it out, and you can hear it too. He said there's sound effects.
Oh,
good.
I don't.
What's that? Is that Abby?
I don't think they purr like house cats.
That sounds like that doesn't really. That sounds like Giorgio. Like that's like
that's
Corey's house
my
cat.
cat. I think it's more like a low it's actually more like that.
Okay.
No, that is like a bird or something.
It's like yeah, it
or
is.
Someone
no,
that's
seriously.
Like,
go to the museum.
Someone that's like nauseated or something.
No, it's a thing.
I guess we'll find out if you go to the museum, because they're going to be sound effects there for
Clearly,
sure.
we all need to go.
Apparently, all three of us need to go. And we can, and you can, because it is in Manitoba. So this is Manitoba. We hope you follow and share the podcast, and we'll talk to you again on another edition. What was that sound?
Make sure to like and share now.